Muy buenos días. A very good morning. Un placer estar aquí con ustedes. Es un gran honor. It's a great honor for me to be here today, and I want to thank everybody who has made this day possible. Thank you for being here on a day when we recognize not just our city's rich history and culture, but a great man who's inspired the world. And I'm so pleased to be joined by my colleagues, council members Gil Cedillo, Mitchell Farrell from the great 13th District. I love all 15 districts equally, but I love one just a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You're close. I love my neighbors next. And our great friend Kevin De Leon from the State Senate. My former colleague Ed Reyes, who is here. Our commissioners that are here as well, Sylvia Patsouras, of course our President Barry Sanders, and todos los miembros de la comunidad, especialmente I want to thank the Archbishop for being here. It's a great honor to have an Archbishop here, a great Archbishop, to remember another great Archbishop. There's a time in all of our lives when we must answer a simple question, when we're faced with moral decisions, and whether we decide to do what we feel is right in our heart, or whether what we do what is easiest for the powers that be. Monseñor Romero faced that decision in his life, whether to speak truth to power at the risk of his own life, or whether to fold in the face of power that was exercising its violence against his people. And at a time of war and atrocity when so many remain silent, and we can understand why. Silence preserved lives, silence kept people's communities together, but silence was not ever a way forward. Monseñor Romero stood up, and for that he was struck down. I traveled with Salud and with Carlos Bacarano during the elections in 2004. And I remember when we were at the museum where we saw the commemoration of the nuns who were massacred, adjourning motions from the city of Los Angeles in the museum there. And it hit me how intertwined the history of Los Angeles and El Salvador have always been. That your history is our history and our history is your history. That here, Los Angeles es una de las ciudades más famosas de salvadoreños en el mundo. Es una gran ciudad salvadoreña. Y la comunidad salvadoreña ha sido una inspiración a nosotros, nuestros derechos humanos, nuestras vidas, nuestras visiones de la justicia y de igualdad. And the vision that the community here has brought us, so many who fled war, to come to a place of peace, you've reflected that peace back on a country which now has emerged from war strong. And the friendship that exists between Los Angeles and San Salvador and El Salvador, but I was so pleased to be able to sign the first beginnings of a sister city relationship that we then were able to finalize, means that we will always be twinned together. And today, in recognition of Monseñor Romero's life, we'll have a place where Salvadorian Americans will come here, the children of those who fled, and say, Mom or Dad, who was this man? And non-Salvadorian Americans will come here and come into this beautiful park that used to be known as Westlake Park, back when this was the west edge of town. It was named after MacArthur after one war, and now can come to this plaza and say, this is Romero. And for all of us, we say to each other that we must, in our own lives, stand up at those difficult times to take the vision of this man and make sure it is not a past vision, but a present one, a living vision. La inspiración de su vida debe ser una inspiración en nuestras vidas. Con la reforma migratoria, con los derechos humanos, con las oportunidades económicas. These are the things that we must provide for our children and our neighbors. To fight, to stand, to speak, to be heard. And in his death, his voice was amplified tens of thousands of times more than it could have been in life. And I'll close with this. I pray that one day those in power who use power against us, who use it for violence and to repress our human rights, will know that every single time you try to quiet a voice, 100 more are heard. And every time you try to quiet 100, 1,000 are born. And every time there's 1,000, 10,000 can be heard throughout this earth. And so en esta ciudad de Los Angeles, es nuestro honor este día a dar este espacio a la memoria de un ángel, Monseñor Romero. And to give this to Salvadoran, who's been a driving force to make sure that this has happened.